Thanks for fun here. I hope you guys are having a great day. I've got 3 images from a photo shoot I did the other day testing long exposure and focus stacking. I think the results were pretty interesting. So if you're interested in watching my workflow in Lightroom and Photoshop on focus stacking, come on, let's go. So I composed the shot with the subject, the log, in the center of the picture. And I normally would have done thirds, rule of thirds, or placed it somewhere else, but I wanted to be able to make the layers more obvious, as you'll see here. So when we look at the layers of where I had the focus at, the first layer is the grass, the second layer is the log and the water, and then the third layer is the tree line. I felt composing it in the middle like that would paint the picture a little bit better. But if we zoom in on the grass layer, you'll see it's in focus very well, except for the pieces except for the grass that was basically touching the camera, but the foreground was well in focus. You know, you can see this leaf here with the frost on it. But you see all the little individual pieces of frost on the grass. That's great. But the log's not in focus. It doesn't look very good at all. The tree line's not very good. I took another shot, long exposure shot, this time focusing on the log. So this time you'll see the log is in focus. You can see it almost looks like a alligator. I was calling this Log Ness Monster because it looked like Loch Ness Monster. But then the more I started looking at it, it looks like the head of a crocodile or an alligator. You got the snout here, you got what looks like 2 eyes, the ear area. So maybe the combination of the Loch Ness Monster and a crocodile. The Krog Ness Monster. So on the third picture, I really wanted to focus on that would be a pun intended. I really wanted to focus on the trees and kind of like an infinity focus. But what you will notice is the grass, again, is not in focus. You can't even tell that there was frost on there. So an important part of that story was the frost that morning. It was 24 degrees, -2 for my Canadian subscribers. -24 was cold on my hands for sure, but you see it's missing. It's totally missing that part of the story compared to the first picture where the grass layers tack sharp. So you get all that frost. All right, so let's dive into what we need to do in Lightroom to get this over into Photoshop. And all I use Lightroom at this point for on these raw images is I grade them. And what I'll do is I'll grade the first one, the foreground one. And for me, that usually means I leave the contrast alone and I just bump the shadows and blacks up and bring down the highlights and whites. Once I'm happy with that, I'll do a copy and I'll select all the options here that I want, and I'll select a different photo and I'll hit paste, and I'll do that for any of the photos. All right, so once we have the pictures color graded, you're gonna select those 3 pictures and you're gonna either right click on them and do an edit in and choose open as layers in Photoshop, or you can come up to photo at the top and do the same thing, edit in and open as layers in Photoshop. And that is gonna take us over to Photoshop.
2 hours later.
Okay, so once the process is finished, it actually takes you over to Photoshop and it creates a layer for each of the photos you had worked with in Lightroom. And now you can see the benefits of the file names I did on the photos. It's very easy to see what I consider the first layer, the second, the third, that it's the grass, the log, or the trees. I prefer to work with the closest layer on the bottom going all the way to the back layer at the top, just because I don't have to reverse it in my head and trying to make it as easy as possible for me. Now, what we're going to do is we need to get these photos aligned, and there's this wonderful function that Photoshop has had for a while called auto align. And what you do is you select the 3 layers and you come up to edit and you say auto align layers. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick that auto projection, so there's nothing to even do in here, and then say OK. So once that process is done, you basically, it goes through each of the pictures and it finds areas that are identical, and it takes the 3 pictures and aligns them up, so that we're going to basically start removing pieces of layers to expose the layer behind it. So when we do that, if the layers aren't all aligned, then you won't have everything, like the trees. As this tree goes through the water here, if it's not aligned properly and you erase that part of the water, it'll look like the tree goes up and then scoots over a bit. So the aligning process is very important. And then also, the reason I don't do any cropping in Lightroom or anywhere else is because I wait until the alignment process is done and then I do my cropping then. And normally what you'll see is you'll see some white areas show up around the edges of the photo, maybe, especially like if you've ever done panoramas or things like that. You'll notice the areas that are that you need to crop around. In this particular case, it looks like we have just about, yeah, I don't see any waste. But what you would normally do is you'd double click on the crop tool here, and I like to do 19" by 13". And you see it automatically sets up where that crop would be on there, but you can, move it around wherever you need it to be. And once you're done, you just hit the little checkbox. And just like that, we have our 3 images are now aligned, and we have cropped them for the way we want to use them. And what we need to do right now is make a layer mask for the top 2 layers. Highlight the layer you want to do the mask of, and then down here is this little box with a circle in it. It says add layer mask. So once you have your layer mask, we can then erase what we want out of that layer. Let's go ahead and make our layer mask on the second layer as well, because we're going to end up with 2 layers here. Okay, layers and masks can be a little bit hard to understand in Photoshop. You really need to understand them when you're doing the focus stacking. The way I think about layers in Photoshop is, if I had taken these 3 photos and printed them out, the tree one, the log one, and the grass, and I placed those 3 on top of each other, and then I wanted to make a single photo out of those 3, what parts of the tree layer would I cut away so I could expose the log layer that's below it? And what part of the log layer would I cut away to expose the grass layer below it? And when you think of it that way, it kind of makes it a little bit easier to work with. So down here, you notice when we added those layer masks, they're white to start with. Now, one thing that'll help you work in Photoshop is to learn the Control-Alt, and if your mouse has like a scroll, one of these scroll wheels, if you hold down the Alt key and do the scroll in and out, that's a zoom. If you don't use any key and go up and down, it'll move all 3 layers together. And if you hold down the control, it goes left and right. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the tree layer, and we need to get rid of the log area, the water, and the grass, so that we have nothing but the tree, and maybe it looks like maybe we'll use the mist from the tree layer. Okay, so let's go back to our mask. We're currently working on removing the part of the image that we don't want for the trees. And what we're going to use is we're going to use a brush tool, and I think we can go ahead and just make that brush maybe 1,000 even. The other 1,000. Alright, so let's go ahead and just get rid of everything below. I'm going to be cautious here up by the mist. I think I'm going to keep the mist that's in the tree layer. And what I mean by that is, see when I erase it to expose the log layer, it's a little darker where the mist is? Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it lighter, so it kind of makes the point that it's mist. So the top of the brush line, I'm going to kind of scoot along the edge of the mist. And it doesn't have to be perfect, we just want to kind of, again, if you look over here at the example, the mask, see all the area in black would be like, we just took that top piece of paper that had the tree layer on it, and we've cut away the bottom of that piece of paper. And now the only thing that's being exposed is the log layer behind it. We're not even seeing the grass layer yet. So even though I've erased down here the grass, see, it's still not sharp. Now we do see the log more in focus. So I'm happy with that. That's where we're gonna leave the tree layer. So right now, all we're keeping is basically all the trees, the sky, the water line, and a little bit of the mist into the water. Now if we go to the other mask on the log layer, what we're trying to do is we want to cut away the part of the detail on the log layer to expose the grass that's sharply in focus. Now let me turn these eyeballs off so we can just look at the grass layer. Let's zoom in here real quick. A 150%. Let's see here. You see where this area of the dead grass gets from light to dark? It almost looks like it goes to a different level of it goes out of focus. So I think we're going to call it right around that line. Looks like we could maybe go around this bunch. But everything in the water up to the water's edge. If there's any of these pieces of grass like this one here that bleeds in. So just imagine if we had this log layer and we needed to figure out where we're going to take our scissors and cut all this grass area out. Because wherever we cut the log area, since we've aligned them, that sharply in focus grass layer is going to pop out. In theory, of course. So over here, yeah, see, and that's going to take a little extra time, but it'll be worth it. So we've got any of this grass that's in the grass layer that's popping up here. We can't just erase it up here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if we turn these layers back on, you'll see we lose our focus in the grass. But the minute I take our little brush, and again, make sure you've selected the mask that we're going to do this on, not the image, because it will let you you can put the black brush strokes on the image, but you see it's not what you want. So let's undo that. You want to select the mask that we added to that layer. And now when you hit the brush, you see how it's exposing that nicely sharp grass behind there? So yay, it's doing what we want. But if we were to do that up here, it works, but now our water's blurred. And that's fine if that's the kind of shot you're doing, but this was going to be a focus stack shot where we had focus from the front all the way to the back. So what that's going to mean is we're going to need to cut out around this grass. Now, there are many different type of masks you can do. We're just doing brushing and erasing. So I'm trying to make this as easy as possible, where the idea is you've got 3 pieces of paper and you're cutting out with scissors. So using that brush is essentially like using scissors. And you see that's not going to work. So let's get rid of the last brush strokes. Oops. All I'm doing is I clicked on the history, and it's like everything you do in here can be undone until you merge or flatten. So there we go. All right. Let's zoom back out, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take a stab at the grass area that we're talking about. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our log mask, log layer mask. We're going to take our brush and we're going to erase out approximately around the area that we want. As I erase here, you see how that leaf just popped in focus. All right, let's adjust our brush size. We need to work on some of that grass. So let's go ahead and go down to 25. Now, if you're following along on the analogy of the layers being like 3 printouts, what we're on right now is we're on the log layer. So what part of that image do we cut out with scissors that will let something that's beneath that printout, which would be the grass layer, come out. Well, see this piece of grass here that's going up into the what we're calling the log layer. Let's erase that and expose. See how it's blurry? So if I take that very carefully and go up, see now it's tack sharp. Now, if the align process hadn't happened, this would not be working right now. And let me point out, there's many ways to do this, and there's luminosity masks and other types of masks that you can do that they can pick out these kind of things in your image and then present you with that mask, and then you can do a cutout with that, and you can get very, very, very precise. I'm trying to give you an example right now that relates to like printing and scissors. That's maybe it helps you to debunk how complicated this process is and into something that's maybe a little easier, and then progress into those more advanced ways down the road, because this way will get you a good enough result to print. It looks fine. Now, one thing I'll note, because I don't feel like changing my brush down to 5 or 10 or 15 every time, when I went up here to this point, if you look really carefully at the tip, see the blurriness around that tip? So right now we have the log layer selected, specifically we're on the mask layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the channels, and you can turn on this bottom mask and it'll show in red. Now you see how big 25 is, and that it's much bigger than the blade of grass. Well, what we could do is we could switch over from a brush to an eraser, like so, and go as close as you feel like going to the edge of the grass, like that. And like I said, you can take as much time as you want here. Zoom back out, and now you can see it's much more precise of a cutout. And let's turn that off. So essentially, you just need to go along here. Let's go back to the brush and expose all the blades that you think go into there. And then at some point, go back and show your mask and use your erase and get as close as you feel comfortable doing. If we zoom in, we now have an image, let's see, like maybe 150. We now have an image that's very sharp on the log, or the alligator, or the Loch Ness monster. And the grass is sharp, except for the blades that were basically touching the camera, and the leaf. And show the layers. So you see this layer here? You can see all the blades of grass that were cut out. And I basically just went back and forth as I'd find an area that I thought might be a little bit more in focus on the log layer or the grass layer. I'd either erase it or cut it out, brush over it. So let's turn off that channel mask. So now we got an image that is sharp at the log. The water is glassy. The grass is sharp, and you can see the frost on it. And the trees look great. So not only was this a focus stacking example, each of these pictures was also long exposure. So you see the water looks glassy. It was windy that day, so the water was fairly choppy, and it smoothed out the mist that was on the water. There were some contrails from airplanes, and it was very harsh edged contrails. So we softened everything out. So the benefits of the long exposure combined with the focus stacking, and depending on how it's going to be consumed, different pixel sizes. And now when I go out there and I've got an opportunity to take a photo of a lifetime, and I've decided, I want to do a long exposure focus stack image. Now I've got more confidence because I've done this a couple times. So the more times I go out and I practice getting these kind of photos, and I come back in and I practice what it's going to take to make the final image in post, the more I refine my process and I get good at it. So how cool is that, to take long exposure pictures, each one focused at different depths, bring them all together and get the benefits of long exposure as well as focus stacking. But I hope you see the value in this process. This picture was no, it's not going to be on any museum wall, and it's not going to win any awards. But it's important to get out there and try to get these kind of shots and hone your skills. The more and more I spend time with a camera and my setup and figuring out how to get the right types of shots for the different situations, the better I think I'm getting. Well, until next time, guys. Thanks for fun. Signing off. Remember, hang your own hang, and as always, happy hanging.
As I was going over that fair Carry Mountain, I met with Captain Farrell and his money he was counting. I first produced my pistol and then produced my rapier. Said stand and deliver, for I am a bold deceiver. Bushering dum-a-doo-dum-a-da. Whack for the daddy-o, whack for the daddy-o. There's whiskey in the jar. I counted out me money and it made a pretty penny. I put it in me pocket and I took it home to Jenny. She said and she swore she would never deceive me, but the devil take those women, for they never can be easy. Mushering dum-a-doo-dum-a-da. Whack for the daddy-o, whack for the...
That's it. I ain't got no more.